there. How many times have you given something to someone on your team only to have it returned half done, a complete mess, not at all to the standards that it needed to be? Anybody? Yep, it totally sucks. How many of you then have stopped letting those people help you out with different tasks because you want to make sure that it doesn't get done halfway or is a complete mess when you need it to be done? Yep. It's really easy sometimes as a manager when you are working with people, when they disappoint you, to say like, oh, that's it. Like, I'm done. I'm not going to let anybody else do anything. I'm going to do it all myself. The problem is, in the long run, you're going to get burned out. You are going to run out of gas and kind of like do a proverbial faceplant. And you don't want that. Your team doesn't want that. Your organization doesn't want that. So what can you do? Well, you've got 3 hacks for how to delegate, and maybe delegate after you've been burned once, because sometimes it's hard to go back and to like re-engage in that. The first thing that you want to do is think about your strengths and the strengths of people on your team, and really think about it and spend some time thinking about it, and maybe write down some lists, or even if you don't know what your team is really strong at or what the projects that they really like to do, then ask them. It's a great place to have a conversation. But start to figure out what is everybody good at on your team, and is there ways that you can pair people up? So I'm really great at thinking big picture, thinking in the future, how do we make things happen? But I am really terrible at details, and like the details where you really need to get it right in order to make the big things happen. And so on a team that I led once, I had a friend and a colleague who was really great, and we were exact opposites, but in the best way possible, because where I could think big picture, she was so good at the details, and so we really balanced each other out. But if in places where she had to think about the big picture, that sometimes got overwhelming, just like the details get overwhelming for me. And so if you can find ways to pair people with sort of like compatible strengths, that can be really beneficial to your team as a whole. The second hack is to clear, as the leader of your team, clear the bottom third of your to-do list and delegate that to somebody else. I'm going to go out on a limb here, but my guess is that the things that are at the bottom of your to-do list every week are the things that you either like really don't like to do, that are not your strong suit, that take a lot of time and energy for you to do them, or they're projects that other people, those projects that like you had given once to somebody, they messed it up, you said, don't ever touch this again, and so it's at the bottom of your to-do list because you have a whole bunch of other things you need to do, but you still feel like you have to do this thing that's like kind of the elephant that's chained to your leg. And so if you find yourself in that situation, then that's the place, those are the projects where you need to start letting it go, being like Elsa and channeling your inner Frozen and just let it go, because you can't do everything. Remember we talked about, like, you don't want to get burned out, because that's no good. So then how do you make sure that you don't get burned out, and how do you start to let go if that's not what you want to do? And that's a great question. It really comes down to setting clear expectations, setting clear deadlines, and then following up. This is not like the fun and sexy part, right? Like, this is, you have to set expectations. So you have to be really, really clear about what you need for other people, and you have to write it down. And you might say, Emily, I am so busy, I don't have time to write it down. I just don't. And I would push back on you a little bit and say, I think you should write it down, because here's the thing. You write down what you need, and then you give it to people, and you tell them about the project, and you explain it, and then you hand them, like, here's the things I need you to do. And the great thing is that when they have that, either in an email or on a piece of paper that you actually give them, they can go back to it and clarify before they come to ask you a follow-up question. And that's really great, because it saves you time. You don't have to stop what you're doing to answer their question, because they can try to solve it themselves first. And it might take, depending on how things have gone, you might have to remind people, like when they come in to say, I don't know, you can say, hey, did you go back to the description that I sent you? Why don't you check there first? It's going to take both of you getting used to it, both you getting used to giving people some independence, giving them the information that they need, and then saying like, I trust you to do it. That's really hard, I know. But you got to trust people to do it, and then to let that other person think like, oh, she trusts me to do it, and I'm gonna show her that I can do it. It's really big for both of you. And people at the end of this, like, people want to know that they're valued and that you think that they can do it. They want to rise to the occasion. They want to show you that they can do their work and that they can be trusted. And so, because we don't leave our families every day or leave our, like, show up for work every day because we want to feel bad about ourselves. And so that can, as a team member and a leader, it's you get the opportunity to sort of like set that tone, and then add deadlines to the tasks that you're laying out. This needs to be done by this day. Make it clear. And then as the leader, your job is to follow up, and it's going to take a little bit of time. Remember, you're reconditioning your team. You're reconditioning all of you. And so it's going to take a little bit of time to say like, hey, knock, knock, knock. Today's Tuesday. Do you have this part of the project done? And they might say, oh, no, I don't. You say, okay, well, when is it going to be done? And let's write it down, and let's be clear about when it's going to be done. And I'll come back. I'll come back later today, tomorrow, whenever it's going to be. Because the more that you do that as the leader, the sooner that they're going to realize like, she is actually going to follow up on this, so I need to get it done. I should just do it. And it might take some time, but you'll get there. Remember that change is hard. Change is hard for everyone. And right now we're going through so many changes all at one time. And so you just have to be patient, but be persistent, because your time and energy is valuable as a team leader. And you need that to be growing your team or doing the other things that you need to be doing, not double checking that people are doing their work. And so be patient, be persistent, and I promise you it will be worth it. This has been helpful for you. Click on the link below. You can check out our blog post, or you can sign up for our email list. We're sending every week a newsletter with more content like this to help managers who are new to the job, or who are new to managing a team for the first time, or just people who realize that their skills need a little bit of work. Everyone is welcome here. All right, remember that change is hard, but you are capable of so much more than you realize. Just hang in there. Keep rocking, and I look forward to seeing you back here soon.